this movie right now. It's like probably minutes to 1 in the night, and I'm still up, but that's okay. We're going to talk about this movie, Avatar The Way of Water. I'm going to give you a spoiler review, so that means I'm spoiling everything from start to finish. I'll give you a general story synopsis of Avatar The Way of Water. So, Avatar The Way of Water, we return to the world of Pandora. And first of all, let me just say, man, I was very tense throughout this movie because this movie began with Neytiri. I believe it's her name, Neytiri. I had to write down some of these names because I couldn't remember the names. Yes, Neytiri, and she was drawing a bow from an arrow, and she fired the arrow, and the arrow went out of the screen and almost hit me, and I was like, "Whoa, you're really involved in the story." The 3D in this thing is just incredible. I mean, my eyesight is not the best in the world, but even so, I could see through the 3D glasses just how tremendous this thing is. It's an experience that immerses you into the story, and I mean, it really immerses you into the story. So, the best way to watch this movie is through 3D with 3D glasses. I have my 3D glasses somewhere. I even have my ticket somewhere here. So let me see if I can get the ticket. Let me see if I can get the 3D glasses so you guys can see that I actually went to the movie first of all. Right. So here's my ticket right here. That's this piece of the ticket here, and there's the other piece of the ticket right here. And then this is still my 3D glasses I paid $10 for, and I'm gonna hold on to this because, of course, this actually works. So why shouldn't I not use it, right? So, you know what? I'm gonna put on 3D glasses just for fun as I talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. So, really, what's really cool about this movie? There's so much to unpack, but let me just give you the basic synopsis of the movie. So, the movie is really about family. Okay, it's about this family. Several years later, the Scully family, where Scully is now a Navi. A Navi is a big avatar. That's why they call it Avatar. It's a big avatar, and it comes to these Navi have different tribes. They're located in different areas. The Navi that Jake Scully became a part of, genetically and otherwise, is actually located in the forested, mountainous regions of Pandora. Okay, and so Jake Scully, his wife Natiri, have some children. Okay, they're in the Omaticaya forest with the Omaticaya clan, and basically their children. The oldest is Nateam. Then there's Loak. Tuck is the little one, and then adopted daughter of his is Kiri. Kiri is actually the daughter of the professor who is looking into the Navi. I was very quite awed by it, but she of course is in suspended animation now. And also we have Spider. Spider is a human who was born on Pandora. And so this is the kind of family. It's basically, I believe, five children. Nitiri and Jake Scully have. And so the Sky People, which is really the Earth people, they were chased off of Pandora, but they returned to Pandora. So life was good, simple, good life that they were having on Pandora when the humans weren't there. But the humans returned to Pandora and pretty much obliterated. I mean, just absolutely destroyed the wildlife, and other things, and everybody had to flee from the area where the humans landed in Pandora. And Jake Scully launched a guerrilla campaign against the supply lines of these humans that returned to, they call them the Sky People. Now, what's interesting to me about this movie is it's very much, it almost seems to borrow a lot of the connections from the Native Americans. And James Cameron had said Native Americans, particularly indigenous people of different parts of the world, really advocated James Cameron to keep on pushing the cause. They really appreciated the movie because it seemed to overlap with the way how they see the world. So I thought that this was a continuation of that, and basically the story is this: so the Sky People come back to Pandora. They set up camp. The name of the camp is, I think I have it written down somewhere here. Or do I? I do somewhere. Oh yes, Bridgehead City. So Bridgehead City is a base of operations for the humans. Now the humans, the leader of the forces, the human forces there, the military leader, is a woman, and she was speaking about how they tried to infiltrate and destroy the Navi, but it was very difficult to do. So this is why these recombinant uh, Navi uh, avatars of the deceased Army General Miles Quaritch and his crew. They come back as avatars, recombinant avatars, and they are now charged with going and trying to infiltrate, trying to figure out where James Scully is, because they want to know where these Navi are so they can overthrow them, so that they can proceed with operations, because the Navi has been sabotaging their operations, particularly their lines where they are getting supplies and stuff like that. So James and Jake Scully was doing this. So they were trying to infiltrate and use the Navi, in this case, Miles Quaritch, who was a military leader. They would go in like that. Now, there are many subplots. I'll get to the sub points of the story, but I just want to keep. So Miles Davis, he comes back now in the form of a Navi this time, a clone, of course, recombinant clone, and he's pursuing Jake Scully. And in so doing, when they landed, the children, I believe it was Loak, Tuck, and Kiri, as well as Spider, they were out. And unfortunately, they discovered that Miles Quaritch and his crew were there. Uh, Now, you have to understand these children, because the story of Avatar is actually about the children, more so about the children of Jake Scully and Neytiri than it is about uh, Jake Scully and Neytiri, period. So this is about the next generation, actually. So the adventures that happen are mostly with the children. And these children range from ages of, it seems as though they're around, some of them are pre teenage children, and some of are late teenage children. So it's that kind of range we're looking at. So, where, teenage children would be kind of somewhat rebellious or explorative or trying to find their identity. That's the kind of film that we're looking at here. So, basically, the children, they want to really fight the war with James Scully, but James Scully does not want to get them involved too much in the war. In fact, what James Scully does, when he finds out the children almost got kidnapped, they almost got killed the first time Miles Quaritch was there. In fact, Spider, who is a human, is actually the human son of James Quaritch proper. He was a little baby. He was left on Pandora. Everybody else went back, so he ended up growing in Pandora and mixing with the Navi there, and he thinks of himself as a Navi. Anyway, um, Spider was actually kidnapped by Miles Quaritch and his crew. He ended up back at the base of operations, the military base of operations with the humans. Now, something else you need to know: in Pandora, the research center still stayed there up in the mountains. So there were humans before who stayed back with the Navi when Scully and the Navi of the mountains, at least, chased out the humans. Some humans stayed back and they worked with the Navi, right? So there was actually a base of operations there in the Navi tribe place. But these humans were not in association with the other humans. Okay. However, um, Spider being kidnapped made the the um, the tribe, the clan, at risk because Scully lived amongst the clan with his family, but Scully now discovering that Spider had been kidnapped, they could trace it back to him. So Scully decided instead of staying and fighting, he decided he didn't want the tribe to get in trouble, so they decided to leave as a family. Which his wife very much opposed. She wanted to stay and fight Neytiri, but they sort of came to agreement that they need to leave because the children almost died. So for that sake, they left, and their migration was towards the sea, where they could disappear amongst the tribes of the sea area. Now, the Navi that are in the sea area, they are adapted towards sea life. They're fishermen and so on. So the Navi's tails, they're not slender. They have big, you know, club-like hands. They have massive tails and they have big feet. And so the Navi made adjustments and adaptations to the sea and sea life, and then the creatures of the sea that the Navi actually deal with and utilize are creatures kind of like birds that they can hold their breath very long, and they can dive and they can swim very well, and then they can fly above the sea as well. So whereas the Navi had these kind of bird-like creatures in the forest, which were adapted for tree life and flying above the tree lines and stuff like that, in the sea, these creatures were adapted to dive and breathe for long periods of time in the sea. And also, we meet the toucan. The toucans are uh, um, are like humpback whales, sort of like equivalent of humpback whales, and the toucan are spiritual brethren of the Navi that deal with the sea. They see them as spiritual brothers, and they communicate with each other and stuff like that. So when Scully and his family came to this particular tribe that he went to the tribe. Hold on a second. He went to the Metakina tribe, and uh, Tono Tono Uri Tono Ari and Runo were the heads of the sea tribes. Okay, there were many sea tribes along the sea coast, but they were like the head guys of that. They had two children. One is uh, Sirea, and the other one is Aunung. Okay, a brother and a sister, and then they have their friends. And Loak, he ends up. Loak is one of the sons. See, each of these children have their own personalities. So ends up anyway. I'm telling you the story. Loak ends up meeting the children of uh, Tunoari, and that's Tisrea and Aunung, and he basically doesn't get along with Aunung too much, but Tisrea, she kind of likes him, so she takes to him, and he's Loak's kind of rebellious. Loak's a guy who likes to test boundaries. He likes to take risks. His older brother, which is Netayam, he doesn't do that. He follows instructions. He's a good son. You know, his father doesn't have problems with him. But Loak always causing trouble. Okay, and it wasn't. It's just not that Loak is trying to be a troublemaker. It's just that Loak would just disobey orders. He just disobeyed a lot of things. It's like he had his own mind. Kiri, which is the adopted daughter, she tends to become one with nature. So she's kind of always in harmony with the spiritual harmony with nature. Okay. Spider, as I said, is the human amongst them. He's much smaller, of course, because the Navi are very big. They're like 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall. They're very big. They're very tall, very powerful. The humans wrestling among the Navi is kind of funny. I think of Spider as a little monkey, like a little pet, But Spider, they see him as one of as for a friend as well because but he's so small, he's like a little dwarf to them. But what was cool about this is that each of these individuals have their own. They had their own personalities, and so the journey, was an interesting one. Even little Took, who's a little girl, she's the littlest one of them, and they kind of take care of each other. Now, Netayam is supposed to look out for Loak, because when they go to war and stuff, and Loak's not supposed to engage in war. Netayam has more engagement in war and stuff. He's been in combat. And Loak wanted to be in combat so bad that he just disobeyed orders and he jumped into combat and he almost died. He almost died in combat. But so his father was, would really lay it on thick on Loak. Loak always got, reprimanded by his father. Whereas Netayam, who followed instructions, he wasn't reprimanded so much. So this story is a bit about Loak and his journey and how he finds himself. And so in this story, again, Loak is causing trouble. He's fighting. He's fighting the chief's son because the chief's son picks on Kiri because Kiri's a little weird in the sense that Kiri just goes off into a trance and she's always, you know, spiritually aligning with nature. So she's a little weird, okay? But there's a reason for that, and we learn about that in the story. And basically, to just summarize everything, the children go on a journey, okay? And so uh, the chief of the reef, his children, and Scully's children, and Natiri's children, they end up going on a journey in the sea. So first of all, they start learning from each other, and even Scully learns how to move around in the sea, how to dive, how to breathe underwater for long periods of time. This is taught, and also how to deal with the creatures that they actually going to use to travel with. Uh, which is kind of like a bird-like creature, but it's mostly a sea creature, so it lives more in the sea than it lives above the sea. But it also can. It seems as though it breathes air and everything, but it just lives in the sea. It's kind of an adaptation to the bird creatures that you see in the forest. They look kind of similar. It's an adaptation, I believe. So anyway, uh, they go on this journey in the sense that because Loak he uh, put a beating on Aunung, who is again Tonoari's son. Um, because of that, Aunung tries to get him back by carrying him all the way out to the outer part of the reefs. And in so doing, uh, what happens is that they leave him there, and he's trying to spearfish a fish. He's trying to play he's so brave. He's all by himself. He almost dies because a creature of the sea, sort of like a shark-like creature, comes after him and almost consumes him. And then he's saved by a creature known as a token, which is kind of like a humpback whale. Uh, the token's name is Peakam. Okay, Peakam. This is a lone token. Humpback whales or tokens, they actually travel in herds. This one is by himself. And so Loak, he forms a relationship with the Tonka because he's able to remove an anchor from out of the Tonka's fin. And as a result of that, the Tonka and him become friends. The Tonka saved his life, carries him back to the tribe, the sea tribe. His father, of course, is mad that he's where was he? What's happening? But then the chief, he comes with his son to reprimand his son for doing what 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 he believes the son was responsible for Loak, and he thinks that the son, put Loak in that position. But Loak, he actually accepts responsibility as his fault for the chief's son, who was trying to get revenge on him. And the chief's son was so shocked that Loak did that, that the chief's son, said, "Well, why would you do that?" And he said, "I know what it is to feel, like useless, or like you're doing everything wrong." So they became friends from there. And but the token that Loak befriended, which is Payakam, that token actually was considered as an outsider, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It was considered banished, okay, because it was a murderer. Because tokens don't kill, period. They don't kill each other. They don't kill humans. Nothing. They're peace loving. But Loak later is able to show everyone and tell the story of the token, that the token was able to connect with Loak, and show Loak what happened and why he killed the whalers who killed his mother and killed a number of people, a number of whales. And so when Loak knew this, he told the story to the chief, but the chief didn't care. The rule was the rule. It had happened for so many years, whatever. And so the token themselves banished that particular token, so it lived by itself. And how the story goes is ultimately in the end, because Kiri, she goes to what is known as the Tree of Souls, okay, in the Reef clan, the Meta Kaine, their Tree of Souls. That they would go to that place where you can meet your deceased past, and she's talking to her mother, deceased mother, and then she gets a seizure. Because she gets a seizure, the Scully calls in two of the research people, a doctor, Western medicine doctor kind of person, Norm Spellman, and also Max Patel. These are the two people he calls in. They come, they do tests on her, and they realize, she's got a stroke, she got an epileptic seizure. Doesn't know if she would come back from that seizure. Didn't know if she should be around those things. But then Ronal, she came in. That is, of course, the leader's wife from the reef thing, and then she started doing her kind of like shaman thing, where she's doing her little acupuncture and other things, just like the native tribes or Eastern people. And she brings back Kira, okay, and heals her. And so as a result of that, those two people who came all the way out to the reef, somehow, some way, uh, Miles Quaritch, who is, of course, yes, he is a Navi now, or it's a clone of Miles Quaritch, who is the military leader who's looking for John Scully. He's able to track them, and he knows they're somewhere in the reef. He doesn't know where in the reef they went, but he knows somewhere in the reef. And because of that, he uses Spider, and they go and they interrogate the reef people, and they're about to kill some of them, but Spider, pleaded, and so he didn't kill the reef people, but he burnt down their villages. And even so, the reef people would not tell where John Scully was. So what Miles decided to do with the military leader of that thing, which is the lady, is he decided they were going to whale for the sacred token in the area where these reef people are, to make them get aggravated, make them get angry, and come out to war with him. And he knew that John Scully would come out, would be drawn out in that situation, and then they could get John Scully. So he decided to do that, and so they attacked a token, which was the spiritual sister of the chief's wife, who is Ronal, and she was flaming, and they were about to go on an attack, but John Scully was like, hey, "This is a trap. The people, the Sky people, they're trying to get me. They're trying to attack me. I'm sorry I brought this to you." The chief says, "Don't worry about it." But while that's happening, Loak, he realizes that these people are hunting Token, so he's going out there to try and warn uh, the Token that is exiled, right? Payakan. And what happens in the end is Payakan, he gets he gets a tracker on him, so they're coming for Payakan. So at that same point in time, when Loak goes out there, when his friends and also his family realize that he's going out. They go out with him. Now they ain't supposed to go nowhere, but they went because again, Loak breaks rules. That's what Loak is. So they all go out to try and get to the token so he could save its life. Warn him, and it's too late. The token's already being tracked, and they're coming to hunt for him to kill him. But instead, what happens is they are able to remove the tracker. The token gets to dive and get out of there. But they are now in danger. And so now the sky people or the earthlings, the military people, are trying to trap them. And because Miles was able to see with his, what do you call that thing, binoculars, that it was actually Scully's children, he really wanted to get them. And he got some of them. He was able to capture some of them. He captured Loak, he captured Neri, and he captured Took, I believe. Now the Metakina children were also there. That would be just Sirea and Aonang were there, but they were able to get out of the situation. They didn't get captured. So Spider was able to get away. I believe Netayam was able to get away, but the others they were captured. So once captured, I think no, actually I think Soraya, who was the chief's daughter, I think she was captured as well. So what happened is that when that happened, uh, they they had sent a message to Scully, and Scully found out, and then the chief, everybody, Netea, everybody, the whole tribe, all the tribes started coming towards that area to make war. But in the end, what happened is that Scully had to give himself up because uh, the Miles, he had their children. He had his children hostage, and they were willing to kill his children. So Scully was giving himself up, going there, and then the same token that was exiled, uh, um, Haya Khan, he launched an attack, and I mean, he launched an attack. I mean, when I saw that launched attack, I mean, the whole cinema was just shaking up and everything, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was in the middle of the thing, and it was just so big and awesome, and just seeing the thing, oh my gosh! But anyway, he launched an attack, and he really did a whole bunch of damage. The whalers that had killed one of the tokens before, he killed the whaler. He had gotten spared in his arm. He had got an arm cut off from him. The token. He ended up cutting up the whaler's arm and killing a whole bunch of the whaler people, and then he was able to launch an attack and sink the ship because he jumped up in the air and slammed on the ship and pretty much sunk the ship, right? But while that was happening, because the children were on the ship and so on, Scully started launching the attack. The chiefs launched the attack. All the people. It was just an epic battle. This final battle was an epic battle in which, ultimately, in the end, Scully's oldest son died. All right, he managed to save, most of the people there, and Spider was able to get away because you remember he was being kind of held hostage. He was able to get away, but ultimately, in the end, Scully's oldest son he died. He got shot in the lung, and he died. His mother was there. Mother got Natiri got mad, and Natiri and Scully went back and they wreaked havoc on that ship. And in the end, Scully did end up fighting one on one with Miles as the ship was sinking. Natiri was trapped with her daughter, Took, and Spider was trying to come back in and save some people. Loak, he disobeyed orders again. It was telling him to stay where he was, and he came in anyway. And it was a good thing he did because he was able to save, um, you know, at least allow his brother to come to land and be safe. So anyway, they went in to save Spider, and that's how the older brother died. But in the process, they were able to also save Took. It ended up that Kiri was held hostage. Miles got Kiri, and then Natiri, she got Spider, and Spider was supposed to be Miles' son, so she was able to hold him hostage, and they traded off, sort of like. And in the end, uh, Miles escaped with his life, even though he was choked out. underneath the water. In the end, Scully lives. His whole family, except for his oldest son, survive. And then Miles, he gets away. But the reason he gets away is because Spider didn't want to see him die, right? Spider's not about killing. So Spider saved his life. And then Spider didn't want anything to do with him, but he just saved his life. And then Miles gets away. Scully's whole family, they go back to the tribe. They had Chief Tribeman. Chief Tribeman tells them to stay, don't go, don't move on. And Scully realizes he needs to take a stand and fight the Sky People. He needs to realize he should have obeyed his wife and taken a stand and fight the Sky People. So that's what he ends up staying with the Reef People, and he's going to build a defense to fight the Sky People. Now, what I would say is that's the entire story. Now, I just told you the story because and I know some of the stuff you're not going to follow me with, and this is a spoiler review. So if you've never seen the story, then this is not going to make too much sense to you. But if you've seen the story, all of this makes sense because it's a spoiler review. The cool thing about this story, I would say, is that this story covers family, and it's a very emotional story. Okay, there are a lot of emotional parts to the story. Now, some people say the story is kind of slow in certain parts. I don't agree. There's a lot of emotion. Like I said before, I was kind of tense throughout the story because one, stuff kept on coming at me in the screen, and the action scenes were crazy. But this story is essentially about um, a man and his wife, a man particularly trying to protect his family. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Um, in a way, so many times it was like close. It was very difficult for him to do because the different family members had minds of their own. All right, and so anyway, the important thing in the story is, oh, by the way, I didn't say it. Kiri, because she's one with nature, she was able to get some of these sea creatures to follow her, and in so doing, they led her to uh, uh, Net, uh, what's her name? Natiri, okay, which is Scully's wife, and her daughter was trapped inside a sinking ship. So they were able to lead the mother and the child out because the mother is trapped on a sea creature that helped her to breathe to get more oxygen, and then she was able to lead out her mother, her stepmother, and her sister. So Kiri, because she was one with nature all the time, uh, she had relationships. She actually learned to dive faster than all of them. She was underneath the water long before them. She showed so many different attributes. Obviously, her mother was human, so she's half breed. All the children are half breeds, obviously, which is very interesting because see how tribal people would treat the half breed, how humans would treat the half breeds. And then the other thing about it is, and they call them demon blood. The other thing that's interesting in the story, okay, of course, the connection, the love the family members have for each other, is very resonating, and that's what causes these tremendous emotional moments. But in addition, this story was also about cultures and seeing cultural adjustments to different lifestyles. I thought it was very interesting. Of course, the respect for the sea was another very important theme in this story and highlighted that and showed the beauty of it. And it really took time for us to see and examine the sea in Pandora. Now, the amazing thing about this movie is when you look at this is all fantasy, remember. This world is a fantasy world and everything, right? But it doesn't feel that way. It feels very grounded. When you go to Pandora, it feels very grounded. And it reminds you very much of All Planet Earth. The Tulkun remind me of humpback whales. The bird-like thing reminds me of birds that dive into the sea to fish. And it got and some of the and even the features of the bird-like thing also kind of remind me of flying fish. So you can see where they borrowed their ideas from, and you see all the sea creatures, and they look very, they move, their physicality and everything reminds us of real sea creatures and stuff. And I think at the end of this movie, you're gonna get this feeling, a desire to want to know what's in the depths of the sea. Now, I've been looking at all kinds of things, all kinds of videos on YouTube concerning the sea, ocean conservation. You know, the seas, again, still unexplored to the high degree, you know. And so I like that James Cameron focused on the sea. You know, the first thing was the forest and conservation of forests in the first movie. How human beings can be so callous, and how we don't even think about, you know, how much flora and fauna we are just killing off. You know, whether it's agricultural land, whether it's, you know, settlements, whatever we're doing, we don't think about that. And in this second movie, I think the sea and just the sacredness of the sea, the sacredness of a world, the balance between the sea and the land, the principles that these different tribes had, and so on. It's just quite beautiful and astonishing. Even though this is there's nothing real here. It's just incredible how it feels so grounded and real at the same time. It's a mythos. It's not even a mythological story. It's fiction. It's pure fantasy, but yet it feels very, very grounded. The CGI is just incredible. The 3D is just incredible. And so I just wanted to talk about that, the way of water. There's so many other themes that go through this, because you have different cultures that they're interplaying with, adaptations, and so on and so on and so on. I'll go into that more in detail some other time and show you examples of what I'm talking about. But as of now, what I want to say about this movie is that the emotional ties between the family, and how tight a family, uh, how tightly knit the family is what makes this movie so awesome. And the fact that home is where this family is, that's what I learned from that whole movie. So home is not, you know, a place or a venue. You may have to travel, you may have to go many different places. Home is really the people that support you and are around you. That's what makes home home. So I thought that was really awesome. Um, you know, James Cameron, man, the man can write a story, and the story had a lot of adventures. It was a lot of adventures, mostly by the, again, as I said before, the children. The adventures mostly with the children, but ultimately, in the end, you also see the humans. That, again, the callousness of the humans. You know, they harvest the token for the enzymes in the token, that from the brain of the token. That's all they want to keep longevity, to fountain of youth, the anti-aging properties. So they kill this entire token just for one small thing. They're not using the blubber. They're not using the skin. They're not harvesting the other parts. It's a big waste, and then they sink the token. And the token, like I said before, the spiritual sister of the chief is who they killed, which is crazy, man. Um, so you know, it shows how heartless and crass and terrible we are as human beings. You know, that's, I hate that this story seems to be anti-human, but I'm not saying it's anti-human. Spider's a human. He's behaving more like an animal, even though he can read, write, and talk. And I like how they also, James Cameron introduced language, how they were speaking in Token. I'm sorry, they were speaking in Navi, and then they changed their dialect. You know, because he can hear everything. We started to hear the English version of that. You know, I thought that was really cool as well. Um, and they would revert to Navi every now and then, because based on whoever is listening, it was the humans listening, it would be Navi and so on. So I just thought it was just really awesome. Now Spider, what he did, he did not want to betray the location of Scully and company, so he never showed them where in the forest Scully and they were. What happened was, Miles befriended Spider. He it wasn't his son, but he had the memories of the deceased Miles. So he tried to bond with uh, Spider, and Spider started teaching him Navi and teaching him the ways, how to fly, to ride the Navi and stuff. So because they are Navi, actually, he was teaching them the ways of the Navi. He wasn't revealing any location of anybody. He never did. But because Miles found out the location based on the doctors that went to treat Kiri. So it is what it is. But ultimately, in the end, um, you know, Miles felt something for his son, and I don't know if he will continuously hunt Scully or if he will try to get revenge on Scully, or whatever. Or if he will learn more about the Navi ways and probably be persuaded by the end of the whole story to just be a Navi. Who knows? We'll see. But what I do know is the story continues on. Miles is still alive. The Sky People or the Earthlings are still doing what they do with their base of operations. But I really enjoyed the movie. The 3 hours passed very, very quickly for me. I was, like I said before, I was pretty tense because this 3D thing, stuff popping out the screen and coming at you. I'm not used to that. And there was bullets coming at you. There was rain falling. There's just a lot of things that happen in the movie where explosions and stuff, and you see stuff flying in at you. It's quite intense. It's quite an intense thing. And then the whole movie has a certain tension to it and certain stakes all the way through. And so I really appreciated the movie, and I was glad I went into cinema and saw it. It's again, this is what I try to explain to Warner Brothers, that you can have a serious tone movie and it can be colorful. It has nothing to do with the colors because the movie is very colorful. That's not what makes a movie dark or serious in tone. And this movie was dark and it was serious in tone. But even so, it was colorful. To make the point that Warner Brothers thinks it has to be grimy, gritty. That's not what makes a movie serious. It's when the characters are taken seriously, when the movie takes itself seriously, which is what Avatar: The Way of Water does. Anyways, I know probably a lot of you guys. I just wanted to get this review out there. Did I enjoy the movie? Most immensely, I did. Time flew pretty fast for me because I was very much absorbed in the movie. It's very immersive. I would not suggest you watch this movie in 2D. I suggest you watch it in 3D if you have the money to do that. If you can get to watch it in IMAX, please do watch it in IMAX. But the cinema I went to was good enough, and it was a great experience. I was conversing with a lady as well in the cinema. She was behind me, and we were just talking and making jokes and stuff as the movie was going on as well. So it was quite an enjoyable experience for me. Now, was there a big turnout where I was? No, not for the 3D. I don't know for the 2D, but the turnout, about half the cinema was still empty, mostly closer to the screen. But still, I expected to see a lot more people. I thought I wasn't, but I don't know. I went day one on the Friday, so I don't know what happened Saturday and so on because I know school is out now. It's holidays, so I'm not really quite sure what happened. Now I heard the box office for it is not bad at all. Looks like it's going to make about 400 and something $1 million when this weekend is up. So well, and the weekend is up, so maybe I could see that right now. I will see what it actually made. But ultimately, in the end, I think it's on course to do what it's supposed to do. Now, people are saying that this movie needs to make $2 million, $2 billion. That's not true. This movie just needs to make, I think, $800 million or somewhere thereabouts, and it breaks even. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you have been watching, I will catch you guys later. I am Christ Am Disciple. Peace.